Welcome to episode 2 of Unleash CX, where today we'll be discussing whether AI can truly replace contact center agents. Now, I have Chris De Souza, who's a director of business consulting at CGI, to help me explore this topic in more detail. Welcome, Chris. Really appreciate you joining me today for our podcast to talk about a topic that certainly I know you and I, we talk about this regularly and also with customers alike. But before we go into that, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and just give us an insight into how you've got to where you are and, why customer experience, like, why is this so important to you?
Hi, Iqbal. Yeah, thanks for having me on. Absolutely delighted to spend some time to talk about this. I mean, as you say, customer experience is my passion. I'm really, really interested in it. I'm really passionate about it, but I'm interested in doing it well. I've had a really interesting journey because I probably never intended to get into contact centers and customer experience, but once I did, you start sort of delving into how it's done, and you start sort of seeing what, particularly focusing on what other people are doing, and that kind of drives you because you quickly learn what's good and what's not good. So I started off working at an organisation up in the northwest of the UK. And it was a baptism of fire because I was very young. I was only about 26, and I had about 1,000 people indirectly reporting to me. From there, I went and set up a contact centre over in South Africa, followed by coming back to the UK and sort of got heavily involved in ground transportation in London, where at one stage for about 6 years I was looking after the customer experience for what we call the Boris bikes. And then from there I went off to Mastercard, where I was looking after consumer operations in Europe. And now I find myself in a really exciting role, probably the role that I was destined to get to, leading the contact center and customer experience advisory practice at CGI. And this is where we go and help organizations improve their delivery of customer experience and running efficient and really good contact center operations.
Yeah, amazing. It's great to see where your kind of journey began, and good to see that you're using that experience now to help organizations deliver great customer experience. And I'm sure you've realized over time that, look, the industry's evolved massively now, and it's a real minefield in terms of technology, the amount of processes there are in terms of building out great customer experience. Bringing all of that together is a task in itself, but I also find that a lot of organizations lose sight of the end goal. Like, what are we trying to achieve here? And that's where I guess you guys come in, right? Is to kind of bring together the actual outcomes, the objectives.
This is the thing.
Yeah.
I think when we start off, you asked me about my journey, but we can also think about the journey that the contact center industry has gone through over the last, what, I mean, I've been doing this for 25, 26 years now. And during that, I remember when I started, it was telephones on a desk, and you had a room full of people, and people would answer the phones. When an organization wanted to promote itself on the TV, for example, an advert, there was a telephone number that you called. Call today was the message, that direct response television advertising. And then you started to see email creep in, and then you started to put websites, and the phone number started to disappear. And then someone, I think, came up with the idea that people don't want to phone you anymore. So it went from being a call center to being a contact center with multiple channels coming in. And with that, of course, as you just said there, we've got this huge raft of technology solutions, which I think people often become almost like that kid in the sweet shop type
Mm.
of there's so much out there, there is so much technology. But the thing that concerns me the most is with all that technology that we've got out there, and then make the comparison between what customer experience was, say, 10 years ago to where we are today. I think people are struggling to see how all this technology is being leveraged to the benefit of the customer. So and the question then starts arising is, are customers compromising their what they're wanting, what they're trying to get out of it? Are they happier with a lesser service?
Mm.
Um, and there's so, I mean, we can start talking stats, and there's so many numbers out there.
Yeah.
What different organizations sort of will say about what customers want, and then the journey customers take when they interact with an organization. And you start thinking about, well, we've got websites with information on, we've got chatbots, and with chatbot will lay on some AI there, we're trying to predict what the customer's saying and sort of try and push the customer down a certain way. Then you've got email channels, and then of course, then at the end of all of that, if we haven't managed to solve the customer's issue, we've got an agent sitting on the end of the phone who supposedly is having to deal with the really difficult and complex stuff, which is we're told that's what agents want to do. It's and there's so many different messages that are thrown around out there. I think there's a genuine confusion, and I don't mean that in a derogatory way whatsoever, but I just think there's such a confusion about what custom, what we should be using this technology for. And to your point there, I feel that the outcome, what we're here for in the first place, kind of gets lost in the
Yeah,
mix of all of that.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, I have I talk to customers and they say we've got to have AI, must have AI, and you say why? Why do you want AI? And I think AI is, I'll give the caveat here that I'm not some sort of technophobe who's not who thinks that we should just go back to, answering telephone calls and forget about all of this stuff. I think the technology out there is really, really clever. And there's some really intelligent people who are sitting in, organizations who are building this stuff and looking what the next. It's great. But the problem is that you've got to have really clear focus and real clear understanding as to what you want to go and use this technology for. The analogy I use sometimes is I say, well, I can go down to my local DIY store and I can buy a chisel and a hammer and a plane and some screws and I don't know, some masking tape. I'll come home with it and go, right, I've got my tools. What shall I build? What can I do? And actually, what I want to do is put a shelf up, and all I need is some raw plugs and a screwdriver. So, and that's all I want to do. So I don't need all the other stuff that comes with it. So it's actually understanding what is it. Always put the technology to one side to start with and say, well, what is it I'm trying to achieve? What do my customers want? And how can I then leverage all that really good technology that's out there to
yeah.
deliver what the business wants and what our customers want to get out of it?
Yeah, no, so it kind of reminds me of an experience I've just had this weekend. Actually, I've gone into a retail store, and I've queued for ages. Got to the sell the assistant, and I won't go into the issue that I had, but essentially she said to me, "Well, if you go to our website, you'll find a WhatsApp number on there. You can WhatsApp them, and then they will help you solve your issue." Now, I said, okay, can we do that now? Can you help me do that now? Or, oh, well, they're not available on the weekend, so you're going to have to contact them on a Monday. So I've just wasted all my time and I've got a disjointed customer experience. And the strange thing was, she said, look, we've just launched this new capability where we think WhatsApp will really help our customers. Now that's their perception of it. So they've enabled this new channel, but it's actually left me with a pretty poor experience. I don't feel very happy because I was hoping that she's got access to the system. She'll just help me. I'm there now, but I'm now being. It's obviously they're using deflection even from going in physically to getting my problem solved. So there's already a massive disconnect. Obviously, I'm picking on retail here, but this is the most recent example of they've used technology to enable a new channel, but they've not really thought about what happens to consumers coming into store and seeing what really is that really delivering the best customer experience and outcome. Obviously,
You've,
in
you've
my
used the
case,
word you've used the word there, Iqbal, which I hate with a passion. In this, the word deflection.
yeah,
Uh, I can. I remember I was speaking at an event, and someone started me about what's your deflection strategy. So I said, like, is that what you're looking for? You want to deflect calls? And he said, yeah, that's what we want. We want to, deflect our calls as much as we possibly can. I said, I can do that. I can give you some absolutely free consulting here for you. I can 100% deflect all your calls. Anyway, you can almost sort of see a bit of skepticism coming into into his body language there. What we do, I'll come to your office tomorrow and we'll turn off your phone system. Right. There we go. We're going to deflect all your calls. Don't give people a phone line. Because actually what you're saying is, I don't want to talk to you. The thing we've got to remember in this industry is that customers call us for a reason. And the reason isn't to tell us, hey, thanks very much for delivering my parcel on time. Or, hey, do you know what? My broadband, just to let you know, my broadband's running fine today. Or I've got 5 bars on my signal. We don't do that, right? We're calling because there is some kind of problem or fault or my expectation from the service or good that I have got has not been met. So I will, and I want that resolving. Now, I think businesses have also got to sort of really sort of start thinking now that with been through this whole deflection process for, goodness me, I think probably 2015 was when people really started getting into this. So we're almost 10 years down the line of deflection being almost a strategic approach to customer service. And your head just goes, why? Anyway, um, so we're kind of used to this idea that, let's just say, the website is the first place to go. And I think it's fair. I mean, I've straw poll surveyed a few people that I talk to on my day-to-day life. So what do you do? If your broadband goes down or you want to order a new mobile phone, you go on the website. That's the first place you go. If the website hasn't resolved the problem, you might try a bit of chat or bot, depending on your experience historically. And that's important to remember, because if your experience with these things is not good, you kind of discount that. You develop your preferred method of contacting an organization. But I think it's fair to say most people will go on the website. So you phone up the company, and then again, it's thinking about the journey and thinking of what the customer feels, right? Because they've tried that. And the first thing they say is, tell us why you're calling. You get an automated thing. I don't mind that. That's okay. So I'm calling because my broadband's running slow. And then it says, did you know that 95% of inquiries of this nature, and I'm paraphrasing obviously, can be solved by going to our website, and here's a link. And you click on the link if you are minded to the first time you do, and you go back to where you were, and the information isn't there. Or they expect you to go to it might be the homepage of the website or the front of the knowledge base, and you then still have to search. You're no better off. Right. So then you phone back again, and then it tells you that, did I know that 95%? But I no, I don't, because I'm in that process because it hasn't helped me. So then I want to speak to an agent. Then you have a really long wait, and it tells you then that the website is the best thing, or I might like to do some texting. Right. So by the time you get through to an agent, you're frustrated. You're in it. And then people, and I really do try not to do that, get frustrated with agents, because I know it isn't their fault. Right? They've not designed that process. They're just at the end of it, taking the brunt of it. And then someone says, oh, do you know what? Our attrition rate's really bad. Because your agents are getting screamed at because of the decisions and the journey that you designed, which they have to deal with, right? And I was thinking about this, just obviously I was going to come and talk to you today. I was thinking about how we measure all of this. And we're very interested in CSAT, aren't we? Because we can then go to the market and say, we're really good because we've got an NPS score or a CSAT score of this. And I would like to, controversially for your podcast, suggest a new metric. Let's suggest the frustration factor, or the frustration index, for measure how frustrated you're making your customers. Right. I've got as far as just thinking about that.
It's an interesting concept, but how do you, it goes back to measurement, doesn't it? Like, how, I suppose we've got the techniques now to be able to measure sentiment, and if you're seeing negative sentiment from customers, that's potentially an indicator of frustration. But yeah, you're right. We're focusing too much on as you say, satisfaction, but what about dissatisfaction, right? How are we measuring that?
I think that's probably the more important thing. I mean, we all know that complaints are gold dust, because it tells you where your business is not working and where there are issues. And if you see commonality within your complaints, within your complaints, you know that we've got to go and focus on that. But the deflection piece, I think, is a flawed concept. What we should be looking at is looking at perfection. So we should be perfection, not deflection, is the motto which I will throw at you. Let's understand why customers are calling. Why do your customers, the people who are paying your wages that keep the business going, why are they contacting you? Right. And what can we do to make them not contact us? Well, number one thing is give them what they asked for. So if manage their expectations. So if they're expecting a parcel to arrive intact, and then fine. If you've advertised something, and make sure that the customer gets what they're expecting, then they've got no need to contact you. If there's a returns policy that you've put in place, because there is obviously statutory returns policies, 14 days, you can send something back for whatever reason. Don't make it difficult. Embrace the fact that people are buying things and sending them back. Don't make it difficult. Give the customer the experience that you would expect. That's when you walk into a store. It's that face to face. We're humans. We're social animals, actually.
Yeah.
And let's start giving that back, because that actually, honestly, I think becomes a real distinguishing factor between organizations. Because at the moment, I've gone on LinkedIn, I've done other podcasts where I've just honestly said and posed the question: do we genuinely still care about customer experience anymore? And I genuinely worry about that now,
Yeah.
because there there's lots of companies, and I talk to companies who do actually, to be fair. But then, when I in my day-to-day life, when I take off my consulting hat and I just become a consumer and navigating my days, I'm shocked as to how poor the experience that so many companies are giving. Do you remember we had a thing? It was called a service level, wasn't it? We would
Yeah.
answer 80% of calls in 20 seconds.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Listeners, does that happen anymore?
Yeah, it's true. I think it's because there's so much noise around this now at the moment, where there's all these trends, and what I'd like to kind of touch on is you mentioned AI earlier on in the conversation, and I totally agree. By the way, it's like, okay, well, you want AI, but let's try and unpack why. What is it that you think AI gives you? How do we try and bridge some of the gaps that we know, most organizations have? As you said, most organizations are still failing to deliver the kind of a customer experience that they envision to. And I also feel that there is a desire to improve customer experience. Everybody gets the value of it, right? It's going to drive revenues long term. You're going to get customer retention, all of the good things that we know organizations benefit from. But it's the execution that's so poor. And we're seeing that because there's no joined up thinking. They're not really designing the experience around the customer. They've got to really understand the customer well enough. And all of this kind of goes back to, if you're gonna enable AI within your CX or your contact center, how can you start to deliver the outcomes that you want? And in terms of the kind of topic of conversation today, we were going to kind of discuss, is AI eventually going to replace humans entirely? Is kind of the strapline conversation in terms of certainly where we're seeing some organizations go too much in one direction, looking at ways in which they can introduce self-service with AI to eventually remove as many humans as they can from what a traditional call center is. What's your kind of view on that? Do you think we're there now, or we're headed in that direction?
We're really not there now. Really, really not there now. And to be clear, to have an AI replace customer, to replace your contact center agents. The caveat I'll give to that is because no business, very few businesses, or I've not come across businesses which are delivering the outcomes anyway. So you could, for example, have replace your customer experience with AI if the service that you're providing is really good and delivers, because then actually you're not trying to deal with complex issues and angry customers and the emotion that comes into this with AI. So yes, I suppose the real answer to that is we could, but it's not just going, I'm taking my agents out and I'm going to replace them with AI. There's a whole heap of other stuff that's got to happen. And that's actually the big job. The big job is looking at your operation, looking at the service and the products, if they exist, that you provide, get that all right, and then you can layer on top of your AI, and then you'll be golden.
No.
I think the other answer to that is, of course, we're not here yet because AI can't handle everything. So I think firstly we've got to be really clear about what you want your AI to do, and also be really clear of what you want your AI not to do. I call it an escape route, right? So when you guide your customer into the automated route, whether that be AI or otherwise, you've got to be able to get the customer out of that environment as quickly as soon as that self-service activity starts to fall down. You've got to get your customer into human interaction as quickly as possible, right? Not just sort of floundering around into loops of you know trying to find your way out, like you navigate a maze out to the agent. You've got to get them out as quick as possible. And the problem I think is exacerbating the situation is the longer we try and put the cart before the horse and try and force AI into people's lives before it's ready, the more people are having this sort of negative view of AI and therefore are less open to using it. So, you get you interact with there's companies which I deal with. Again, we talk about my own personal life, where I now my number one thing I do is I phone because I just don't see the point. I mean, obviously I might go on the website, but then I'll call. I'm not going to try anything else because my experience historically off their self-serve has been so bad. I just know what's going to happen. I know what the outcome is going to be. I'm going to end up phoning, so I might as well get to that point quicker, right? And people's mindsets will be like that. They go, "I'm used to now this. This is what works for me." I know they've got this, but last time I was using their AI or their chat bot, it didn't work. So what am I going to waste my time with it? And I think you've got one or two chances to get that right before people make that decision,
Mm.
right? And while we're kind of trial and erroring this technology at the moment, I think we're kicking the can down the road with people's mindsets towards it.
Yeah.
And I come back to the point that I see, and I get to play with lots of AI
Yeah.
platforms. I get to try and build AI bots in my job, and there's some amazing stuff out there. There
Yeah.
are some really, really clever things out there,
Mm.
which I've seen. I've seen an AI bot which can build itself. You just put in what you want it to do,
Yeah.
and it just goes away and creates the network, the neural network, and it will build out the bot, and it's fantastic,
Yeah.
absolutely brilliant, right? But you don't just go and buy it and deploy it without being really real clear what am I going to use this for? And as I said, what am I not going to use it for? And
Yeah.
there's the bit that's going to benefit, and that's the bit that's not.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think, and I think that's the danger. I will we ever be ready for wholly AI? Do you know what? I didn't think I'd ever say this, but I think potentially we could. I
Mm.
think we could be, I think humans will always have an input somewhere along the line. They
Yeah,
have.
yeah,
But
I think I think it's been looked at too simplistically. Like I was reading a research paper from Gartner. This was from last year. They reckon generative AI will replace 20 to 30% of customer service staff by 26. So we're already, well into 20, we're a couple of years away from reducing that much staffing. You can imagine organizations are thinking in their heads, right? I can actually reduce my staffing cost for my call center by 20 to 30% by then. That's great. But actually, as you've said, there's a lot of work that needs to be done to see how AI can truly replace and also actually deliver a better experience. That's why you got to do it. You can't do it because it's
but
replacing. Yeah.
but I talk to enough people now who are in the mindset of boy cried wolf because I mentioned 2015. Why I mentioned that is I was at the Contact Center Expo at the Olympia that year, and that was the first year that lots and lots of people, lots of the vendors particularly, were talking chatbot. Right, no AI. This was just chatbot,
Yeah.
and the word on the street and I remember was one particular seminar I was sitting, and then the guy was espousing that we would have 80% of contact centers, 80% of contact centers, not contact center people, 80% of contact centers will be gone by 2020. Right. So that was the 5 year period. Obviously, we had a pandemic instead, but that was, that's different. So now we're at 30% of contact center agents are going to be replaced by AI. So
26.
there's numbers, and then you have
Yeah.
layer on the fact that the folk that are selling this stuff are bound to say that, of course, this stuff is going to. I think there's going to be a shift in the shift that we're seeing in this world is going to change. Is going to continue,
Mm.
but what that actually looks like is, I think, yet to be defined because we're trying to do two things at once as well at the moment. So we've got the whole shift towards artificial intelligence, at the same time, the shift towards hybrid working, which we would never have done if there hadn't been a pandemic.
Yeah.
Not in the speed and the unplanned, uncoordinated way that we've done it in this industry. Literally, right, we're going to have to work from home. Right, we're going to do this, and then I promise you, 2 weeks after we'd moved everybody to work from home, and I was on my government-sanctioned walk, a vendor actually called me and said, "Hi, Chris, what do you think about the new way of working for the contact center industry?" And I went, "What are you talking about?" He said, "Well, we're going to work from home from now. The contact center as we know it has gone." And I went, "Well, we're in the middle of a pandemic. What are you talking about?" And he was convinced. And actually, he wasn't far from being prophetic there, was he? Because we have now got this hybrid approach. Is it working? Not sure.
Mm.
I'm not sure it's working, but we've not put our boundaries out really. We've not understood again what that all means. So as I say, we're trying to do hybrid. So we're changing our agents, the way our agents work dramatically, and we're trying to change the way our customers interact dramatically, all at the same time. And
Yeah.
that I don't think is something which was we would ever have done, I think, in the past.
Yeah, it's an interesting point, and I think we kind of talk about the impact of AI on the customer, but actually, I think the immediate gains that certainly what I'm seeing is rather than exposing AI to the end consumer right now, is how can we augment the agent to deliver a better service where AI is advising the agent in real time as to what's going on, presenting knowledge, summarizing the conversation. Like there's some tangible benefits there to make the agent more efficient. Do you think that's kind of where we're going to see some immediate gains in being able to deliver, ultimately going back to delivering better service to the customer? Is that where we're at, you think,
Yeah,
realistically?
I think I've seen some really, really good stuff in that space where agent assist using AI. I think is really, really good. I've seen and actually there's one I saw which was in the American medical in the medical service where you've got the AI helping doctors. So the AI is taking the notes. It's the doctor can turn around to the AI and say, "Can you bring up the notes from the last session?" It can write the prescriptions. Obviously, the doctor still has to validate and sign it, but the actual way that it is speeding up the interaction with the doctor and the patient is really good. And again, presenting out to agents, well, this is what the customer's talking about. Here's some options as to what the solution could be. I've seen some really clever stuff there again. But, and this is the important bit, is that you've got to, again, we're talking about being clear about your outcomes, be clear about why you're doing it. And the flip side to this is I'm hearing about people saying, what we'll do is we'll use AI to deal with our attrition because people aren't staying very long. So what will because they're only because before we had all of this, it was a 6 month. I'm making it up, right? But
Yeah, yeah,
right, could be 6 months, it could have been 3 months, but six month time to competency before the agent. And we've got contact centers who agents aren't even getting to 6 months before they leave. Right. So we go, well, we've just got loads of untrained people, so we'll put AI in to help them.
yeah.
Right. So you never get agents who are really up to speed. And that training is still important. And what I fear with this, again, without following this through and deploying the agent assist properly and actually being clear about what it's going to help agents with, and also understanding where agents still need to have the basic knowledge or what knowledge the agents actually need, uh, it's a race to the bottom, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Ultimately, because all you end up doing is I tell you, I'll just get anyone to come and sit in a chair and the AI will listen to it and they read back. Well, there's voice, text to voice that can do that.
Then you may as well let AI offer that
Yeah.
service if you're just going to put somebody in without training. And it's interesting. I've had some CX leaders suggest this even to say, "Oh, we can get agents in quicker. Training we can work out when to do, but this way we can deliver service to customers immediately. So we've got immediate gains to be had." The other thing you pointed out around kind of the agent experience, the employee experience to reduce attrition. We're seeing this being a bit counterproductive, actually, where you've got AI summarizing the conversation. So you're reducing the wrap up time between conversations and you're getting more productivity out of the agent and not really thinking about the well-being. So, as you say,
I had
there's a
someone,
danger of going the other way, right?
yeah, I had I won't mention even the industry that they were in, but they very excitedly came up to me at an event and told me they'd managed to, they were on track to reduce their, or to increase, should I say, their occupancy to about 97%.
Wow.
And I went, do you think that's a good thing? Right. Goes, yeah, that's brilliant. I've got 97% of it. I said, no, you haven't. I said, because you're just going to burn your agents out. You're overworking them. Do you know, yeah, it's rap, there's always going to be agents who make fun of the rap, right? Or take the mick out of it. But do you know the rap is that respite? It's got to be balanced. They're human beings.
Yeah.
Well-being, absolutely right. It's not, and bearing in mind that because we're supposedly taking all the simple stuff out of the equation that the agents are dealing with, and that simple stuff is a respite as well. Just makes them feel I've just dealt with that. It's all sorted. I've got that customer off the line. All you're giving them is the nasty, horrible stuff to deal with, which involves the customer being frustrated or aggravated. And that's call after call after call with no respite. What happens? They leave. And then everyone goes, why are they leaving? I don't know why they're leaving.
Yeah.
Because
I've given them AI. Why have they left? It's like,
yeah, why have they left? It's there is that part of it. I still honestly believe that humans, they have that satisfaction factor in them. They want to do a good job.
Yeah.
and give them the training if they've got the knowledge, they've got the understanding of how the organization works. Also, you've got a nice nursery, haven't you, of future employees in other areas of your business,
Yeah.
future leaders, etc.
Yeah.
We're not demonstrating, we're not building that
Yeah.
that foundation anymore. Yes, to come back to the point, because again, I'm kind of always every question you're asking me, I'm kind of moving into the human area. Yes, AI is great. It's what's out there is really, really clear. But I think you said it as well earlier. It's all about that deployment. You know, taking that step back and go, right, what do I want to do? What's the tool? What's the tool set out there that can let me do that? It might be AI. That's the thing. Likelihood it probably is in this, in the way that technology is. Right. So what do I want to do with it? And having real clear outcomes defined in your own mind as to what you're doing, and then deploy it well. Test it, make sure it works.
Yeah.
Run the customer experience, live the customer experience that you've
Yeah.
just built.
Yeah.
Look for
Measure the
look.
success of it, right? I think this is the thing now. You've got the tools to be able to measure how well your AI is performing, for example, and really acting upon where it's failing to deliver the right outcome.
Yeah, and without compromise. It's got to be that way, and it doesn't have to be expensive. I think there's also a mindset that people think delivering good customer service has to be expensive.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It really doesn't.
Yeah.
It's a mindset. It's a saying. Well, actually, I'm setting out to do well and to give the best I possibly can. I mean, if
Yeah.
you've got that mindset, well, yeah, there's plenty of tools out there, but also it reflects in when there's calls or contacts will always come to an agent, and you've
Yeah.
got to show as an organisation to the folk that are representing you that you care.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think
And that's a great point, actually. The final piece around AI for me is, to deliver again, a great customer experience. Empathy plays a big role in that space. The question then is, can AI replicate empathy in the way that a human does? Now, there was some research done, and I think this is you got to look at each use case separately. But there was some research done in medicine last year. It was by a company called JAMA Internal Medicine, and they use a chatbot system to provide assistance to patients. And they compared the results between what a chatbot produced versus what a physician produced. And the eventual conclusion was that the patients felt they were getting more empathy from the chatbot. And they didn't know it was chatbot, by the way. This was, they were told afterwards. But the point here is they were getting an inconsistent empathy from the physicians versus the chatbot, which was actually quite consistent. And we know AI is getting better at understanding the nuances around kind of emotional intelligence. There's the concept around emotional AI, for instance. I think that's how is it intelligence, emotional AI to deliver that level of empathy. Now we know it's not entirely there, but I guess the question is, can it ever replace human empathy? I mean, is that a possibility in your view?
I think what it is that you're seeing there, what they're measuring, is the consistency.
Yeah.
I think yes, because I think that because I think the physician that we're discussing there is not being empathetic as
Yeah.
consistently,
Yeah.
because they're busy and they've got the stress. And in the AI doesn't experience stress. Its well-being is always at a level
Yeah.
that's it's not affected by what's happening. By someone being rude to it or someone speaking inappropriately to it. Whereas you know, the physician in that case, he might have had an argument with a patient, or he might have had an interaction which wasn't great, which has affected the next three calls. So that human factor, is dispelled in the with the AI. I think it can. It's getting good, and I think it's the consistency, and again, it's that the deployment of that,
Yeah.
so that we don't end up in the. Remember when we outsourced all our contact sensors overseas in the 90s, and we
Yeah.
gave everyone scripts, and I know it's not quite the same thing, but someone say, "Hello, yeah, my pipes burst," and the agent would go, "Oh, fantastic, Mr. De Souza, great, I can certainly help you with that," and you'd
Yeah.
go, "Oh my God, hang on," it's the genuineness of that was just because it was scripted. We've
Yeah.
moved away with that, and the algorithms and the way that
Better.
AI works
Yeah.
within it can deal with that.
Yeah.
But again, you've got to be careful with it, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that it
Yeah.
doesn't.
I think it's always striking the right balance with these things for sure. I think the consistency definitely helps deliver across the board, but I think the real kind of nuances, the context that a human can deliver it's always difficult to replace. So it'll be interesting to see where this industry heads. Look, I want to kind of finish off on a question that I ask all my guests, which is really about sharing your best ever customer experience. And yeah, if you can think of one, that'd be great. And actually, for me, customer experience is all about how it made you feel. So yeah,
Yes,
could you share something?
absolutely. And you know what? It pops straight into my head. As you asked the question, pops straight into my head because it is that exactly how it makes me feel and how this organization makes me feel
Mm,
and why I go to that organization, right? And that organization is Waitrose. Waitrose, I'm not some loaded person who can afford this. It's because of the experience. I'll give you two quick examples of how the staff in there have been trained. I think fundamentally they've been trained to care.
yeah.
Bottom line, you can have a Waitrose and another supermarket chain next to each other. And why are the people in Waitrose? It's attracting the same, you know, it's the same demographic of staff that come from the same catchment area. But
Mm,
why does Waitrose deliver in spades and others don't? So one of them was I was at the Stevenage branch. I happened to be working in Stevenage, and I thought, right, I need to do some shopping. I'd been furnished with the shopping list from Mrs. Chris, and so walking. I've never been to the store before, so I don't know where anything is. So I'm walking around, and there was a young lady, probably late teens, early 20s, and I'm saying that because it's important. And she's busy putting some stuff on a shelf, and she sees me sort of looking around with my shopping list, and she gets up and she goes, "Hi, can I help you?" And I said, "No, it's okay. I've never been to this branch before, so I'm just not sure where things are." She takes the list from me and she says, "Right, here's these things are over there. I'll go get them for you. These two or three things are just here if you want to choose." And she takes the list and off she goes. And then she comes back a couple of minutes later with a armful of the stuff that I wanted, and I've chosen it. Phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal. And the other one is, I go to Rickmansworth Waitrose. That's my normal shop. There's one, and they always, whenever you ask for anything, it's always you carry. I'll go get it. You carry on, right? You carry on shopping, and I'll come and find you. There's one particular time I was after some chocolate mousse for my children, and there was a specific Waitrose own brand one that I buy. And there was none on the shelf. So I asked the assistant, "Do you have any of this in the back?" And as expected, she said to me, "You carry on. I'll come and find you." And I'd gone about two aisles along, and I see her coming along, and she's got the wrong one. She's got the Cadbury's version of it, right, which I didn't want because you only get four, and it was twice the price. And so I thought, oh no. And she comes up to me, and she goes, "I'm really sorry, sir. We haven't got what you wanted in stock. So I'd like you to have this on us." And there was a sticker on this. "Sorry, we couldn't provide you with what you wanted today." Whatever it said, I'm paraphrasing again. "Have this on us." And for that, I don't. It cost them next to nothing. It probably cost them 50p. But the fact I'm telling the Stevenage story is probably about 5 years old
yeah,
at least. The other one is probably of a similar length of time. The point I'm making is those memories, those emotions, that all of that's emotional, right?
it
How
is.
I feel about it. They could do what other supermarkets do. I went when I remember my wife wanted a particular product from another supermarket, which is very local to me, and I didn't know where it was because I shop at Waitrose, right? And I asked the person there, and he said, "No, we don't do that." I'm like, "You do that. I thought you do that, right? I know you do. I just don't know where it is, and you don't know where it is.
Yeah,
But what you can't be bothered." To the point I made at the start, you don't care, right?
yeah, yeah,
So I went off and I searched around and I found it, and I went back and told them. I said, "They're over here, mate. That's where they are."
yeah.
So I think the lesson from Waitrose, and off the back of that, by the way, my household insurance, my car insurance, everything's with John Lewis Partnership because
Yeah,
I
incredible.
believe in the service. I believe in the fact that they care. The day they stop caring is they're done, they're finished, right? Because that's their
Exactly.
USP. But
Yeah,
it's a damn good USP.
it is. It is. Especially in this day and age, I think it's so difficult where so many organizations are failing. They're trying to deliver, churn out as much service, as much product. The service is getting neglected. And what I love about that story is there's obviously, a lot of empathy, a lot of thoughts gone into actually what do you want as a customer? But they've identified that and they've given you what you want. But I think what really strikes me is the proactive nature. And I think that's a lesson we can also learn is it's not always about reacting to what the customer's asking us, preempting it, seeing that actually you're a little bit lost, you need a bit of help, identifying it and then helping you get to the outcome that you want. And I think a really tough thing to embrace, and for an organization to train their staff. Yeah,
But what leaps out at me with this as well is the fact that you'll have people who will say, "Oh yeah, the young of the today, the
yeah,
millennials,
that's true.
generations that aren't interested in customer service."
Yeah,
Waitrose have fundamentally proved that wrong
yeah,
because they have their staff in there,
yeah,
and I mean, I've been shopping with them probably for about 20 years,
yeah,
and I've seen these, if they go off the university or whatever, and there's a new batch that come in, they're consistently at the top of their game. Every single person in there cares, and they care genuinely, and they will deliver that experience. And note, I said experience and not service. They are delivering experience to the customers that go back, make them go. And you see the difference in price. Yeah, you're probably paying about 10, 15, maybe even 20% more
yeah,
to go in there. But you know what? I'd much prefer to go in there and have that experience, come out feeling happy,
yeah,
than going in and just having that transactional, thing where they've supermarket that the local I refer to stripped out all the tills and they've put them the self-service. You have to do yourself. I'm not getting any wages for doing that. I don't get a discount for doing that. I have to do it myself. And then when it gets to my can of beer, there's some disgruntled that same shop assistant that could have been so happy in Waitrose is so disgruntled because they've got to walk up and down and just all they have to do is just scan a bit of paper and put a code in to say, yes, he looks like he's old enough to drink the beer. That's their job.
yeah.
Why they don't care, you know?
Yeah, it's great. It sounds so simple, but it's so difficult to execute, because if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. But no, look, really, really good.
Mindset.
It
Yeah,
is mindset. It
yeah,
is, it's mindset, it's culture, and being able to kind of, recruit the right type of people as well, and then skill them up. There's so many things at play to actually deliver that kind of, as you say, experience, and then consistently doing it. I think it's such a big challenge. But yeah, look, really appreciate you sharing all of your insight and your thoughts, and I know obviously also sharing your best experience as a consumer. Um, Really appreciate your time today. Would love to have you back again at some point. We can maybe take the conversation in a different direction entirely. But yeah, thanks a lot, Chris, and
Thank
hopefully
you, Iqbal. I really enjoyed it. Yeah,
well,
thank you.
take care. All right, let's stop that.